So many thanks to my speakers before. Here, Rama, Mrs. Binder. It's a pleasure to be here. Welcome also from my side. I'm Markus Schaefer. I represent Switzerland Innovation Park Central, or Switzerland Innovation System. My whole office is sort of Schaefer
architects, and I have 12 lecturing Frankie and mine.
So this conference is, of course, an experiment in heterogeneity. It's a bit like a French cuisine. As you have lots of small dishes, we hope it's still an amazing meal at the end. What bit like mosaic. So we have different types of people coming together, talking about the topic. And but I think in the end, the kind of overall idea should emerge. And we already have a kind of a fantastic panel in this first round. And maybe why don't you just come here by introduction will not be very long, then I can already introduce you. We have as a first speaker, Reto von Schulkes. He studied biotechnology, then went to the EA and worked then for Hollinger, which is a large engineering company working in the water systems. So we started out in Switzerland and but I know selling and being water as a service. Now taking resilience seriously. He runs his own chocolate factory, which I admire very, very much. Then we have Annalisa Vanera. She's professor at the ETH. She came originally from Michigan, University of Michigan, where she established an entire group, also leadership group, working look your sisters and multi-phase flows. He does really advanced things, which I can hardly pronounce. So basically, she works with computational fluid dynamics and multi-physics systems, and allows us therefore to think and direct the solution keyword, but she's also a very astute and critical observer of the Swiss energy systems that she will talk to us today about the mix of energy. We finally have Shira Tapping. Also, please come down here. Shira has one of the craziest biographies I have seen recently. She will tell you all about it. It's the plot of a spy novel, and these, you know. And so she originated actually Israel, worked there at the Israeli military. She's done more about it. Is today an investor and entrepreneur in the realm of cybersecurity. Is a mother of 3 children living in Zurich, and somehow managed to balance all of this extremely elegantly. Basically, what you see in front of you is a kind of a nested system. You know, so I'm an urbanist, conventional biologist. I represent kind of the blue realm, where in the space, like this lecture hall, where we interact like human beings, we talk to each other, we innovate by putting our brains together and working together. We then have the next system, is the system of water. We just have local regions, regional in terms of water supply, it's local in terms of wastewater, which is kind of one level off in terms of complexity and visibility. Then with energy, another system, which is, of course, to us largely invisible, right? So energy is just something magical. It comes out of the lighting in the ceiling, and it's always here. We don't need to think about it, right? And energy is something which is local, regional, national, international, with very complex flows, which all need to work together in order to function. And then finally, of course, we have Shira's topic, cybersecurity. Cyber is limitless. Shira told me very elegantly on the call we had, and cybersecurity has no mountains. There is no topographical defense. We are just swimming in a big bush with everybody else. Now, what is urban resilience? What is this thing we're talking here about? The idea often is that the sea is just a big machine, like a watch complication. The issue with the watch complication is that it's engineered for predictability. The whole point of a watch is that it's predictable, which is a 4. Cities are very unpredictable. Things happen, they don't really know why. Cities are no trivial machine. There's many different systems working to each other. They can see each other, with each other, and things emerge out of a complex systems interactions. Often, people also think that cities are inherently sustainable, but it's also a fallacy. Right? Cities are not like this plant which grew since 50 years in this isolated glass bubble, only sunlight coming in. Because while cities are growing, while the planet is urbanizing, also planet boundaries are crossed. Was urbanizing planet not more sustainable than a less urbanized planet? Cities are not closed systems, they're rather dissipative systems, so they consume energy and produce waste, and they're inherently a complicated thing to deal with. Whenever you are faced with something which is complex, it is good to go to the origin of it. So if we go to the origin of cities, you would probably end up here in the very early temples which human beings built in southern Anatolia, where people came together, built these machines for interactions, machines to tell stories, and settled around them, inventing agriculture to grow the first beer, starting with tame animals, inventing rituals and stories, which slowly then made that these spaces and stories, these individuals and collectives, and the species and people entangled together into something new. Right? And this new organism, people then took, walking down these large rivers, Euphrates and Tigris, taking with them all this knowledge they developed, slowly that becoming a religion. And 5,000 years later, you have objects like this. You have the first big cities where you already see a city as we already would recognize, with buildings and infrastructures and roads, agricultures, canals, and most importantly, division of work, social differentiation, the generation of surplus, and an emerging complexity. So entanglement and complexity gives us this complex system, which we call cities and city systems, of course. And we are in one of them, so we are here in the metropolitan region of Zurich, which is, of course, a kind of a polycentric network of many kind of small places linked together by infrastructure. So when you looked at that a bit more precisely, you see this infrastructural system at the background. You have these neighborhoods and the former villages which kind of grew together, agglomerated into something new. And then on the very right, you have those objects and ensembles which we as architects design and with which we stabilize our interactions and transactions in order to have meaningful, safe, stable, and innovative lives. So this is the organism we're dealing with, right? Where many things are entangled into it and which has an emergent complex behavior. Now, like as architects, we're also very good at organizing this. We have a subsidiarity-based system. So we have the federation at the top, we have the cantons, we have the municipalities. We have a cooperation principle. So these different layers are required to work together. All of this is legally organized. We have the counterflow principle. So ideas and frameworks come from top down. We can act from bottom up as municipalities. And of course, we can, as individual actors, in this stable framework, top-down, and in our work, top-up, embedded in a trust system, we can do actually quite a lot. So we can make places which are really intimate, which anchor us, but we can also, as architects, make places which are very large in a kind of a process which we call integrated urbanism, where everything we know as urbanists, we can place together and make something as large as the Riga waterfront in Latvia. But still, we are an isolated expert discourse. That's why we want to exchange information also with other people. Because what is resilience, right? Resilience, as we often hear it now, when faced with trauma individually and faced with war collectively, is something which has to do with robustness. We want to make us strong, robust, and if we are hit, we get up again and we do our lives exactly as before. But ecological resilience, as we learned from C.S. Holling, is something very different. It's a response to large disturbances with very alternative states. So if you look at this beautiful forest, you see also a system like an economy, a system like a society. And the crazy ability of this system is that it can shed 5% of its stock, of its built infrastructure. It can shed all the productive assets when it goes into hibernation. So all the leaves are being thrown away, right? It can then reduce its GDP by 40%, hibernate for as long as needs be, and in spring, everything grows up again. It doesn't lose permanence, it doesn't lose
relationality, it just blooms up again, right? So resilience very much also has to do with the capacity to absorb disturbance and reorganize while retaining its fundamental function, structure, and identity. This is what we need to look for. Because we will be hit, we will have to change, we will have to adapt, but hopefully for the better. Now, why is this so difficult? Philip already mentioned it as this problem that in a diversified, differentiated society, people speak different languages. The nuclear physics professor speaks one language, an architect speaks another language. It's very hard to communicate. So therefore, it's very hard to collectively act. We are all overloaded. And we are most blind exactly where we are most vulnerable. And therefore, we think resilience is a topic which concerns us all. And it is very much a topic where you will live with this mosaic, this kind of French cuisine, because in the end, the French cuisine is what makes us colorful, interesting, and hopefully surviving. And with that, Reto, as a first speaker, the floor is yours.